Houston, Texas, a city of 2 million plus, just weeks away from electing a new leader, a mayor who will take the helm for the next 4 years. Tonight, KPRC 2, Telemundo Houston, Onda Magazine, and the League of Women Voters Houston are bringing the candidates to you. 5 of them on stage to address the issues that are most important to Houstonians. Live from Dunham Theater in the Morris Cultural Arts Center on the campus of Houston Christian University. This is your Decision 2023 Houston Mayoral Debate.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this mayoral debate. I'm KPRC2 anchor Daniela Guzman.
And I'm Telemundo Houston anchor Cristal Ayala. Muy buenas noches, bienvenidos. There are 18 candidates in the race for mayor. All were given an equal opportunity to meet the parameters to qualify for this debate, and all the campaigns were aware of those parameters.
All 4 partners, KPRC2, Telemundo Houston, Onda Magazine, and the League of Women Voters of Houston worked together to develop a criteria for determining which candidates would participate. In August, we sent a letter to all candidates stating the leading candidates will be determined by polling and by the number of individual campaign donors. In September, we sent an additional letter. We will only use polls conducted after the August 21st filing deadline to ensure all candidates are part of the survey. If no polling is available leading up to the debate, the number of individual campaign donors will be the only parameter used. That same letter also stated, if you would like to be considered for this live broadcast, you would need to file your finance report by October 3rd. If you do not file by October 3rd, we will use reports filed in the previous filing period. Now, these 5 candidates had the highest number of individual campaign donors in reports filed by our October 3rd filing deadline.
Asking the candidates questions tonight, KPRC2 Houston newsmakers host Kimbrell Marshall, Telemundo Houston anchor Antonio Hernandez, Onda Magazine reporter Victor Escalante, and president of League of Women Voters of Houston, Claudia Ortega Hogue.
Well, the candidates have been informed of the rules of this debate in advance. Candidates have 1 minute each to respond to questions.
And each candidate has 2 30-second rebuttals to be used as they choose. They will be offered a chance to use a rebuttal only after all the candidates have answered each question.
And the right to rebuttals can be lost if a candidate exceeds the time allotted for an answer.
Before we start, we want to thank Houston Christian University for hosting us, and also thank you to Naomi Williams from the League of Women Voters for being the official timekeeper.
A random drawing was done to determine which candidate would get the first answer, and we begin with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Kimbrell Marshall will ask the first question.
Thank you, Daniela. We begin with crime, which is consistently the top concern expressed by Houstonians. According to Rice University's Kinder Institute for Urban Research, about 8 in 10 Houston residents said it was very important for the next mayor to do something to reduce crime. 1/3 of residents reported feeling their neighborhood was not a safe place to live. 1 in 5 Houstonians reported often or almost always feeling unsafe in their day-to-day lives. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, if you are elected mayor, what will be your strategy to reduce crime in our city?
Well, first of all, it is absolutely unacceptable for our families to feel unsafe. I'm a mayor that they can trust, and I'm a mayor that cares. I'm a crime fighter. And what I've said is that we have ways of cleaning up neighborhoods. I will use our officers to target high crime area using data analysis. It was done in the Midtown community, and it worked when crime was out of control, in particular at the gas stations. So we target areas of the city, neighborhoods, clean it up, visibility, lighting. But at the same time, we work on a comprehensive approach, working with layered policing, the Sheriff's Department, constables, Metro, HISD and other officers, and the federal officers that are here. They helped find the fugitive that shot a deputy and others. We'll work with the DEA ATF, the FBI, particularly the entity that deals with gun trafficking, and we'll also have gun violence intervention from federal funds. It'll be comprehensive, and we will win.
Congresswoman, thank you for your answer. Mr. Khan, it's your turn to answer.
Well, thank you, and I am the only candidate who will provide you specific solutions to every problem tonight. My solution for the crime is, without raising your taxes, I will add $100 million to HPD budget, start recruiting 500 more officers, have civilians do the desk job, have officer patrol the streets, and I will make sure that we recruit officers from the neighborhood. People from the neighborhood should be policing the neighborhood, so they know the businesses, they know the community, they know the people living there, and then I will take care of the blight out of the neighborhood, because it has to be a comprehensive approach. I like the model which Dallas is using right now. I will use that kind of model, and also, unlike John Whitmire, who is calling for DPS, I will not ask any help, because we are Houston, we are a can-do city, we can take care of our problems ourselves.
Senator Whitmire, your turn to answer.
Simply put, we'll do whatever it takes to attack crime. We're living in a city that's crime is impacting our quality of life. We're altering our lifestyles. It's affecting our economy. Property values in Galleria area are dropping because of the high crime in that area. So we will come together, acknowledge we have a problem. I'm uniquely qualified as chairman of criminal justice. I've been endorsed by law enforcement because I'm a no-nonsense person. I hold people accountable. Violent offenders have to be held accountable. Nonviolent, that want to turn their lives around, we need to help them with their addiction. We need to address mental health. We need to first make sure that it's a priority of the city of Houston. We're going to talk about many issues tonight, rightfully, but if we do not solve crime and reduce and improve public safety, nothing else matters. That's what I care about as a crime victim, begging for my life with an armed robber with a gun in my face. I don't want anyone in Houston to have that horrible experience.
Senator, thank you. Ms. Garcia.
Primero, yo quiero decir gracias por darme esta oportunidad de participar. I first want to push back on the way that crime is being framed in Houston. Texas Monthly says that homicides have dropped 28% from last year in Houston, and overall violent crime is down 12% from the first quarter of this year. Now, I know certain people up here want everybody to be afraid for crime, and in fact, Senator Whitmire got dinged by Texas Monthly Magazine as one of the 10 worst legislators this past session because of his focus on crime. But we need, if we're going to take a real look at crime, let's be honest. Crime comes from poverty. Poverty and educational opportunity work hand in hand. The only reason that I am in this race, Annie Mama Garcia, is because I'm a mama. I'm not a politician. I'm up here because I have 3 kids in HISD, and our school system has been taken over by the state. This is the #1 issue in Houston right now. We have lost our ability to vote for our school board.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Kaplan, your turn to answer.
We have half as many police officers per capita as Chicago and New York, and we haven't increased that number in 20 years. So the first thing we need to do is use the personnel we have more efficiently. Our current mayor paid $775,000 of taxpayer money near the beginning of his term for what's called a PFM study. That's a company that looks at municipalities. And they recommended several things, but most importantly, civilianizing more of the in-house functions so that more officers could be on the street. I think it's common sense that more visibility helps us with crime. Having more officers available at any given time on every shift is valuable. There are other recommendations, such as merging the HR departments of the various departments, so somebody who applies for one job and might be unsuitable for it might be suited elsewhere. These are simple things we need to do.
That completes round 1 of questions. Any rebuttals? Let's continue.
All right. Our next question will be asked by Telemundo Houston anchor Antonio Hernandez.
Gracias. Buenas noches. Good evening. The partners of this debate, KPRC, Channel 2, Telemundo Houston, Onda Magazine, and the League of Women Voters of Houston were intentional about choosing tonight and the date of this debate. It falls within Hispanic Heritage Month. And the next question has to do with the Hispanic community. According to the research titled The State of Hispanics, conducted by the University of Houston's Hobby School of Public Affairs, 41.6% of the workforce or labor force in Houston are Hispanics. 41.6%. Yet, over the past year, over half of the Hispanic population in Houston had a household income of less than $50,000. Less than $50,000. As mayor, what would you do to ease that burden? We start with Mr. Khan.
Well, this is the number one thing we have to do in Houston is attract businesses. Open up the city of Houston. Right now, city of Houston is not business friendly. I have the experience and the understanding of how to attract business. That's what I did when I was in District F. You can see, go see the District F is booming with new businesses. That's what we need to do. We open up the city of Houston, attract more businesses. We have one of the best communities in Houston, the most diverse community. We enjoy that. And it is unfortunate that some of our community, especially the Hispanic community, are feeling left behind. Same thing with the black community. One of the other programs I have is to start a microcredit program so our people can start entrepreneurship, because sometimes that's a problem that our people are not getting the credit which when they apply for credit. So it's a comprehensive approach. I will attract businesses to the city and open up the market for everybody.
Senator Whitmire.
Thank you for your question. I'm in this race for one reason, to make a difference. I can unite this community. We all know that the Hispanic community is underrepresented at City Hall. Look at the number of department heads, underrepresented. Look at the number of councils, underrepresented. In the business community, the corporate community, Hispanics are underrepresented. So what you have to do is, one, you have to be bold and speak about it. I want to unite Houston. We cannot continue to have two Houstons. I travel this city and I go to Denver Harbor, where they ask for their first sidewalks and their first lighting. Then I go to the Heights in Washington, and they're tearing up 3-foot sidewalks to put in 8-foot sidewalks. We've got to put a stop to where we've got the haves and the have-nots. Denver Harbor, represented by Hispanics, need to be included in mainstream Houston, and I will see that that's done.
Ms. Garcia, your turn to answer.
Our superpower in Houston is our diversity. It is what makes our city truly great. We need to do better to equalize and provide the same opportunities to all kids across our entire city. If you look at our educational system, the state has come in and taken over 87 schools, 87 NES, NESA schools. Those schools, what do they share in common? Are they rated low? Are they C's or D's or F schools? No. The commonality that they share are twofold. One, the majority are economically disadvantaged children, and two, they're predominantly black and brown children. This is not a coincidence. Education is the springboard to a better life in our country. It always has been and it always will be. 37% of Houstonians speak Spanish in their homes. And right now, children are being left behind because we're not teaching them in Spanish, because Mike Miles and the new program doesn't allow for diversity.
Ms. Garcia, thank you. Mr. Kaplan.
Well, we agree on one thing. Education is critical. HCC has 60 or 70,000 students every year. That's an extremely valuable resource. And if we want the employment rate to be higher, if we want this to be a city that attracts more businesses, we need a more educated workforce. And that comes down not just to HBU or Rice, HCU, or Rice, or U of H, or even TSU. It comes down to HCC. That's where people learn things. We have to have an educated workforce to attract business. When we attract business, we'll have more taxpayers to share the load. And then we will be recognized as a better city for every ethnic group.
Congresswoman, your turn.
I'm the only candidate that has traveled the length and breadth of this city before I was running for mayor. I know the East End, I know Denver Harbor, I know Gulfton, Southwest Houston, Fifth Ward, Westbury, Maryland, and beyond. The only way we divide is we talk about division. What you do is you get the facts, and obviously, you want to bolster those who are less economically able. You look at the capital improvement budget, and you begin to look at neighborhoods, and you go into neighborhoods, and you do what is needed, working with civic and super neighborhoods. You fix the sidewalks. You fix the water that's leaking. You provide affordable housing. But the main thing is that you work with the education landscape, and you make sure that our children are getting educated. And if you were a senator in the state house, the Senate, you don't watch idly as HISD is taken over. But you make sure our children are educated with federal funding, and you make sure the appointments at City Hall are there for all to partake, including our Latino community. You just are a leader.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Well, that completes round 2 of questions. Are there any rebuttals at this time?
I would like to follow up, and if I may use my rebuttal for that.
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Representative Lee, I just wanted to correct you on one point. John Whitmire didn't stand idly by. He actually voted for House Bill 1842 that led to the HISD takeover.
Any other rebuttals?
Our next question will be asked by Victor Escalante from Onda Magazine. Senator Whitmire, you will be the first one to answer.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, candidates. Senator Whitmire, water bills have been a hot topic among Houstonians, especially over the past year. In 2021, the mayor and city council voted to increase water rates every year over the next 5 years. At the same time, complaints about billing errors and incorrect meter readings have increased. What would you do about these problems creating hardships for Houstonians?
We have a great city, we have great people, but expectations that we have at City Hall are not being met. Certainly water billing is a top priority. They're using estimates. They're blaming it on their computers. What I'd like to do is empower our city council members. City council members have to have greater constituent services. Call your council member, not a 311 number, not get bogged down in public works. I will immediately ask a pause on the increase of water rates. I understand it's part of a settlement, but we cannot have folks, the public, not having confidence in their city government. Right now, people feel like they're being abused by the city. They can't afford their water bill. They have nowhere to turn. We'll have an ombudsman at City Hall in the mayor's office. We'll have someone that, in my Senate office, constituent service is our highest priority. You call us, we don't refer you to 311 or to another agency. We deal with it, and we get results. That's how I've been a successful public official most of my adult life. Constituent services.
Ms. Garcia.
We have a problem in Houston in that the resources aren't equitably shared throughout the city, and the costs are not equitably borne throughout the city. This is a great example of how we could be doing better, looking at the actual property values of houses and determining how much someone is going to pay at what rate for their water bill versus other parts of town. We should be implementing these sorts of fees and taxes with equity in mind. We should be bringing in people that are directly affected so we know better how to serve them. In addition, we should look at caps. We should look at caps for seniors and for other individuals, disabled individuals that don't have the ability to adequately offset their increased water bills. Eso es algo que debemos hacer por toda la comunidad, toda la gente, con la idea que vamos a dar oportunidad a todas las personas de Houston.
Mr. Kaplan.
Well, you need an algorithm. The truth is, right now, only people who complain loudly and long get taken care of. The algorithm should be that if your water bill is more than twice what it was in the average period in the prior years, then it's suspended. Right now, you complain and then you wait for a refund. That actually breaks a lot of people because water bills could be $1,000 because there's some leak nobody knew about. So the first step is to give people relief. A related step is to have a website that somebody can actually use. Anybody here who's ever gone to the city website knows just how difficult it is. A little bit of tech goes a long way.
Congresswoman Jackson Lee.
You've got to be aggressive. Senior citizens, young families, working families should not be burdened with simply high water bills, one, because of a leaking city system. I'll have a chief financial officer and infrastructure guru in my office. Right now, we still have access to the $1.7 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, which I helped pass. And as a senior member of the Budget Committee, I know how to extract those dollars to be able to assess and help a city that has had an ongoing problem with leaks. We just recently had one. Begin to fix the leaks so you don't burden homeowners with the fact that they're paying for leaking water, or they're paying for water that's leaking on their property. Then begin to assess how you can develop a list of priorities in payment so that you address senior citizens, you address low-income persons, but you make sure you have good water quality. We're still dealing with a consent decree that we must address, dealing with the East wastewater system. So a mayor will have to know how to deal with all levels of government, which I know how to do, and be creative. I will make sure our water is the best.
Thank you.
Again, I will give you the solution, not talk in circles. I'm a businessman. I know how to manage businesses and departments. I will put every city department under management audit, performance audit, process audit, and personnel audit. Water department, that's the problem, that they do not have efficiency in there. I will manage the city with highest efficiency standards like private sector and conservative fiscal policy. This is what I will do with the water department. Make sure they go through efficiency processes, management audits, so all these problems their city can be extracted out. And secondly, folks, we are wasting 30 billion gallons of water every year. That's about 20% of our water supply, about $150 million. I have specific plans, and if time allows and any question, I will give you the specific plan as to how to plug that leak. That 30 billion needs to be saved, and I will revitalize the whole department, water department, so that these kind of things are not happening ever again.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. That completes round 3 of questions. Any rebuttals?
Okay, well, our next question will be asked by Claudia Ortega Hogue, President of the League of Women Voters of Houston. Claudia.
Gracias, Daniela. Buenas noches a todos. According to the Kinder Institute, nearly half of Houstonians report they often or almost always worry about keeping up with their bills. And 1 in 6 are often or almost always worried they will face eviction or foreclosure. Ms. Garcia, we'll start with you. How will you improve housing accessibility and affordability for Houston residents?
Well, the housing issue that we are confronting right now in Houston is something that is leading to undue stress. We need to be able to provide secure housing and affordable housing across the board. There are many interesting ways that we could go about this. I know there's a lot of talk about permitting. We can improve the permitting process, but I think we need to really think about doing things differently, maybe changing what we require for housing, not lowering our standards, but coming up with a new model so that we can provide more affordable housing for more people across the board, where they can share different parts of the home, like the bathroom and the kitchen. In addition, tiny homes, shipping container homes have been done with a lot of success in other parts of the world. And I think we should look at Houston for innovative solutions like that, not always operating from the same playbook of looking for the same solutions. Houstonians deserve better. They deserve somebody who's going to be fighting for them like that they're her kids and I'm their mama.
Mr. Kaplan.
Is rightly identified as a problem. I've had people tell me they hate to deal with the county, but they will not deal with the city because the permitting system can take forever. And particularly in a time of rising interest rates, you're borrowing money to build something. And the longer that loan is being unpaid because you can't get something built to get people to buy it or to rent, then the more likely it is you won't have enough housing. So we have to increase the supply in order to make it easier for people to live here. I want them to live in Houston, not in the county. I want them here so that we get their tax money, we share the load, and we attract more people and have less sprawl.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Congresswoman.
Breaking news, Houston. People are moving to Houston. Houston has a wonderful sense of warmth that people are coming here. And what we need to do is to make sure that there's housing of all levels. How sad it was to see apartment renters at City Hall today crying about the massive number of evictions in one complex. It'll be a stop sign for evictions under my administration. Yes, working with apartment owners who are sincere. So what we will do is that we will create an opportunity for small and large developers to work. We will streamline this permitting department. I don't say that every employee in the city is wrongly doing their job. I applaud them. We'll give them the technology that they need. We will look at land trusts to be able to develop opportunities for small developments. And at the same time, I'll do an inventory of all the land that we own in the city of Houston and look at partnerships. We have not taken advantage of public-private partnerships. We have a private equity community that is almost in the top 5.
Mr. Khan.
Houston, you have been through a lot. First Harvey, then COVID, and now this inflation is breaking your back. And right now, go check the record. Both Mr. Whitmire and Ms. Sheila Jackson-Lee is called for lifting the revenue cap, meaning what? They want to tax you more. I will not tax you a single dime. You're giving $6.2 billion to the city of Houston. You don't need to be taxed again. Permitting department is a mess. And just like any other department, I will put them through management audits, and I practice meritocracy, listen. And people who are excel will be rewarded, people who want to excel will be helped, and those who don't will be held accountable. I will hold permitting department accountable. Besides that, we are affordable housing, we are building 350 square foot unit for $300,000. That's a crime. We should be doing it like private sector do, efficiently and where it is needed. Thank you.
Senator Whitmire.
City operations are driving up the cost of living in Houston. The permitting, which has been mentioned, a year to get a permit is rising the cost. What we have to do is look at city departments, see where they're wasteful, duplication exists, the housing authority is out of control, covered with conflicts of interest. No way in the world the city of Houston ought to be building a housing project next to a super site at Navigation in Jensen. We remove some of the conflicts of interest, some of the people that are being part of the deals at City Hall, it will lower the cost. My number one priority would be for renters, though, to own their own home. Rent is becoming so high that it almost would be a home house payment. But what we have to do is assist them with a down payment. Bank of America, other financial institutions have programs that they've begun to help with the down payment on a home. That ought to be our priority, to get renters into their own home. It would save money and make Houston more affordable.
Thank you, Senator Whitmire. Well, that completes round 4. Are there any rebuttals? Mr. Khan, go ahead.
Senator Whitmire, with all due respect, you are in no position to talk about conflicts of interest. New York Times wrote an article where they say you walk a fine line on conflicts. In 50 years in Senate, this is what you have been expert about, is what can I get away with? So people who are saying conflict of interest, they are themselves conflict of interest, and their whole ethical standard is what can I get away with? So, sir, you are not in any position to talk about conflicts of interest.
Any more rebuttals? Just a reminder, each candidate has 2 rebuttals for this debate.
Our next question will be asked by Cambrel Marshall from KPRC 2.
Thank you. In our last few mayoral elections, potholes have been a hot button issue. The city's pothole tracker has shown improvement, but According to a recent University of Houston Hobby School survey, 65% of the participants said road and street conditions should be at the top of the to-do list of the next mayor. Mr. Kaplan, how will you tackle this persistent concern for Houstonians?
Well, the first thing is, let's just tell the truth about what other mayors have done. It's one thing to say, I'm going to fix the potholes. All you're doing is rearranging them for the next 18-wheeler. Kathy Whitmire was a prophet without honor in her own city because she would tear up a street and resurface it. It would last for 30 years. And we're getting in near the end of the cycle. Fixing the potholes does not solve the problem. One of our former council members, Oliver Pennington, said to me, you know, Lee, all we're doing is making the car mechanics and the orthodontists happy because those potholes tear your cars apart and they shake your teeth loose. What we have to do, what we really have to do is repair the streets because we have a drainage fee. We're supposed to use it to repair the drainage. That's underneath the streets. So we can do both at once if we're honest about how we're spending that money.
Congresswoman?
First of all, I am not one of the candidates that has indicated a revenue cap. I know how to seek revenue for this community without the issue of the revenue cap that would not be discussed or passed without working with members of the City Council. In addition, I think it is important to note that affordable housing and the idea of evictions and rental property all go together. You need rental property that is also accessible for our young Houstonians, and I want to make that clear, and I didn't want to use one of my rebuttals. As it relates to potholes, again, you analyze the city by neighborhoods, and you deal with the repair of those streets in the most difficult and the worst areas, and you methodically look at the best science and technology on how best to do so. It takes money to redo an entire street, but it can be done with the new technology in construction and the type of material you use. I would be a smart mayor and do that for the city of Houston. Your streets would be repaired.
Mr. Khan.
On this issue also, Houston, pay attention. I have a specific plan. Right now, our dedicated drainage and street repair fund has $220 million a year, which they spend on repair. They will never catch up. Okay, it should be more if city puts its fair share and Metro puts what Metro is supposed to do. What I will do is go to the taxpayers, ask them to let me use this $220 million as a yearly payment to a new bond, which will yield me in current interest rate about $2.5 billion, and that $2.5 billion we will do wholesale repairs of drainage as well as streets and potholes, and by the time we get done with this, then this drainage fund, dedicated fund, will be there for us to keep up. Otherwise, if we just keep doing it this way, we will never be able to catch up. And Congresswoman, you can right now tell the voters that you will not raise the revenue cap.
Senator Whitmire.
Kim Rowe, it's not just potholes. Now it's an entire street. It's slabs of concrete that are sinking into the ground and destroying our cars. What we have to do is look at our infrastructure in general. Great cities do not boil their water for 2 days as we did this spring. So it's not only our streets and potholes and slabs of concrete, but our general maintenance has been ignored for years. Administration after administration kicks the can down the road. People are smarter than what City Hall believes. People understand that we need bold leadership to solve our streets, our water supply, our drainage, our flood. We just have to protect this great city. And we're not doing it because people will not tell the public what it's going to take. We need to partner with the county. We're in Harris County tonight. Why couldn't the city and the county come together with their resources and repair the streets and the infrastructure? I know I can get that done, and we need somebody that can work with the state of Texas, and I'll address that before we get through tonight.
Ms. Garcia, your turn to answer.
With all due respect, I didn't come here to talk about potholes. The next mayor of Houston needs to be more than a bureaucrat. There is so much more at stake in this election than potholes. We have the state that has taken over our public school system. Let me explain that what it means. Go to the school board. You don't get a say. You don't see what your children are learning. My kids, your kids, they are all being denied the education that they are legally entitled to, and we have no say. It is shameful that nobody on this stage has said or done anything about the takeover. Certainly not Senator Whitmire, who we know voted for it. Right now, the governor is in a special session to bankrupt public education and fund for-profit charter schools. Our schools district is going to be dismantled, and our children are paying the price. The next mayor needs to have moral clarity and political courage to do what's right, and what I want to know is, Senator Whitmire and Representative Lee, what are you going to do about it?
Any rebuttals?
Okay, our next question will be asked by Antonio Hernandez from Telemundo Houston.
Gracias. Houston has seen a substantial influx of migrants who come from many countries, but especially from Central America, Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba. There are new residents who need services such as healthcare and education. We've seen these challenges that other cities have faced in these scenarios. Congresswoman, what will you do to ensure these new residents have access to such important services?
Well, I have the greatest record on recognizing that this land is a land of immigrants and a land of laws. It's a land of migrants now coming through. The first thing, of course, I want to make a statement of the ridiculous policies of the Lone Star that came out of the state, if you will, addressed by the state legislature, and that is boys and razors that are literally killing people at the border. But I think we have an outstanding nonprofit coordinated group of nonprofit agencies that would work with the city to ensure that these migrants are settled. I think it is important, like the county, to provide them with a basic ID and to ensure that they are being processed. This is federal responsibility of some status that they should be able to apply for. If they get to Houston, they're obviously in line for asylum. And I would make sure that they would be able to provide for their family and to recognize that they are here and not demonize them.
Mr. Khan.
Yes, it is a federal responsibility, and you were responsible for the last 28 years to be a congresswoman, and federal government did not solve this problem, which cities have to solve now. It is unbearable for the cities for having all these people coming in, and we cannot handle that. Look, I'm a first-generation immigrant, okay, but I came from the front door. Anybody who's coming from the front door, we will welcome them with open arms, and we'll make sure that they are productive citizens of this society and this community. Our city is bursting with people coming from all over the world. We enjoy that, we celebrate that, but we cannot be a sanctuary city, because look like what's happening. We are shipping just a few thousand people to New York, and they are crying foul. So we have to take care of this. Federal government has failed us time and again, and Congresswoman, you are partly responsible for that failure also. But we will take care of ours without any problem, because we have always done that, and we will always continue to do that.
Senator Whitmire.
Obviously, we need to unite our community. We have forces at work that would divide us. Undocumented citizens, friends, are working in our community. Within walking distance, there are large groups of individuals that are here. The real problem is a federal issue. We need a guest worker program. I personally, if I was a federal official, I would have legislation to go to the root of the cause. By the time the immigrants get to the Texas border, it's too late. Then it's a human tragedy. They need to be discouraged from coming here in the first place, but they're here. They're our workforce. They're the people that you sit with at the ball game, and we cannot have two Houstons. So we have to have a heart. We have to also speak out to our congressional delegation in Washington, and certainly that will be an issue in the next presidential race. We have to speak out and unite this community to solve that problem. Dividing us will never work.
Ms. Garcia.
Yo digo bienvenidos. Bienvenidos a Houston. Bienvenidos a su patria. I'm hearing a lot of language up here that makes me very, very afraid. Coming through the front door, there's only one way you get into this country. I'm an attorney, and I've represented asylum applicants for pro bono basis. That is a legal way to get into this country. I'm not judging how anybody gets in here, and every person deserves to be treated with respect, deserves to be treated with dignity. And the reality is, by denying people health care and education and the basics, you're bringing more costs onto yourself. It makes more sense to educate people when they're here than to deny them that. And that goes right back to the HISD takeover. Look what schools have been taken over. Look what kids are being denied. And guess what? When vouchers come in, guess which kids aren't going to be able to get into a private charter school? They're going to have to rely on the public school system that now has half of the budget that it did prior.
Mr. Kaplan.
Well, I'm reminded of the Katrina exodus that Bill White literally oversaw and masterminded. That's something that a mayor is supposed to do and supposed to supervise. You know, people who brave Central America and the Darien Gap and the snakes and the cartels are not here to get some kind of welfare check. They're here to work. And the mayor is the person who has to recognize that and make something out of it and tell the legislature and the Republicans in Congress, that's what we want. We want people who want to work. Houston is actually losing population. We need these people who want to come here because they want to work. And the key is for the private sector to find things for people to do. We have so many unfilled jobs here, it's unbelievable. Some are skilled, some unskilled, and we can solve the problem through the private sector.
Mr. Kaplan, thank you. That concludes round 6 of questions. Are there any rebuttals at this time? No? Okay.
Our next question will be asked by Victor Escalante from Onda Magazine.
Thank you. One thing that impacts everyone is the weather. And Houston definitely gets its fair share of weather issues, such as hurricanes like Harvey, the freeze in 2021, and the record heat that we've just experienced this year in 2023. In your administration, what would be your priority when it comes to preparing for an extreme weather event?
I served on the city council when Hurricane Katrina happened, and I was there to welcome our neighbors with open arms. And I remember how Bill White and Ed Ammett handled that issue, and then Hurricane Ike, that happened. So I know how it works. We have to be ahead of the curve when preparing for natural disasters like this. We cannot wait until the rain is pouring down to find out what to do. So I will have people, a task force dealing with it, make sure we have specific plans in place, and have all the details done to the point where even where the people going to stay, where people going to move from, how the supply is going to work. Look, I was head of the Islamic Society when Harvey happened. In one phone call, we opened all the mosques for people to come and take shelter. So that's how you do it. You prepare ahead of time and make sure that all the resources are in place for people to get shelters and get the help they need.
Senator Whitmire.
You have to be prepared, and tonight we're not prepared for a disaster. We're 2,000 police officers short. We could not manage a crisis with that shortage. Also, public safety means firefighters, paramedics. We're 500 firefighters short. The firefighters haven't had a contract in 7 years. They've been in court battling the city. We have to support our first responders. We have to give them the equipment and the benefits that they deserve. If we're going to protect this community, we have to have the best fire department and the best police department in the state of Texas, if not the entire nation. We're not there right now. I've been supported by these groups because they know I will partner with them. I will speak out for them. In the first week I'm at the City Hall, we will sit down with the firefighters and come up with a fair contract for the Houstonians that are going to pay the bills, and also for those firefighters that put their lives on the line every night. It is ridiculous, the relationship between the City of Houston administration and our first responders. It does a disservice to each and every Houstonian.
Ms. Garcia.
So we are facing a changing world, and we need to be honest about that. Houston is one of the most vulnerable cities in the United States because of our location. This year, we haven't had to endure another Harvey-like event, but I think enough people here have PTSD so that when it rains, you're afraid of what's about to happen. Over 25%, we've had a rainfall increase of over 25% in the Brays Bayou watershed, but runoff is an alarming 204%. In 2016, the Harris County Flood Control District Director said $26 billion was needed to shore up the city from flooding, mostly to buy up properties next to waterways and to expand canals. This is a big problem. This isn't something that we just beef up police on and we're going to be able to handle. We need to be honest about what we're facing, and we need to be strategic about how we address it. We can do more with working with the Harris County Flood District to confront this problem now, but it's going to take money, and it's going to take a lot of money, and there's just simply no way around that.
Mr. Kaplan?
People simply assume that somehow we can fix these problems. This is a long, hard slog. Drainage is a long, hard slog. It is labor-intensive. It requires work. Now, I don't know what to say about the firefighters, but I can tell you that not just Sylvester Turner, but Bill White and Anise Parker, none of whom are anti-union, could never come to an agreement with the firefighters. And I think carrying their water is not a good idea. We're going to have an arbitration. We'll see what they demand. I have never heard the demands of the firefighters, but I do know there's resistance to using the 3-person EMS trucks instead of 4-person pumper trucks, which get maybe a half a mile a gallon, to come to the various emergencies. Almost 90% of calls to the fire department are EMS calls, not fire department calls, and people need to recognize that so we deal with that reality when we have this arbitration if it happens.
Congresswoman.
The only candidate up here that confronted these disasters in many different ways. First of all, in the freeze, I had 18-wheelers come in working with the Teamsters to go into neighborhoods and give out food. We assured during the pandemic that this city had vaccines and testing sites. It was the first person to bring vaccines in. With respect to hurricanes, we have brought in billions of dollars to impact Greens Bayou, Halls Bayou, White Oak Bayou, Brays Bayou, and many others. But you work with the county ahead of time and the Army Corps of Engineers and Harris County Flood District to map out, first of all, how you prevent the kind of flooding that is so devastating to neighborhoods. Then you work again with your nonprofits to be prepared when a disaster occurs. Then you work with TransStar and the city's emergency center, and you pre-plan working with those. As a member of the Homeland Security Committee, I have been through disasters. I know how this city would be able to do better, and as a city's leader, I would do better during disasters, helping neighborhoods and helping people.
That completes round 7 of questions. We are getting closer to the end of the debate. Most of you have 2 rebuttals remaining. Any rebuttals at this time?
I'll be glad. I don't necessarily want to call it a rebuttal, but I'd like to not take home some time. In 2015, HISD was at a crisis. The FBI was going in and out of the administration building. Test scores were at all-time low. The Harris County delegation backed the process that we're now observing. Sylvester Turner was a state rep and voted for it. Rodney Ellis was a state senator and voted for it. This is too important to politicize. I've met with the superintendent and expressed my concerns. I think his manners need improving, and I will use my next 45 seconds before we get through.
Thank you. Any other rebuttal?
All right, this is the last question. And our last question will be asked by Claudia Ortega Hug, President of League of Women Voters of Houston. Claudia.
Gracias, Daniela. Mr. Whitmire, this question goes to you first, sir.
Sure.
Where do you believe the city is spending the most amount of money in a manner that you believe is not benefiting Houstonians?
Well, the truth is, no one really knows where the city expenditures are. I'm not sure a council member truly knows the financial picture because of the lack of transparency. Controller Chris Brown has tried for 7 years to put online expenditures. He's been pushed back. The city recently this spring agreed. Chris Brown's will be in my administration. He will work with me to make this a fiscally sound city. We do know that they're wasting money. They're wasting money through their conflicts of interest. What they did to Pappas restaurants at Hobby Airport is unconscionable. We're losing revenue today because the new restaurants were not prepared. They're not nearly the popular brand that the Pappas family's product was. So what we have to do is go down there and do a complete audit, look at each and every department, cut out duplication, waste, and conflicts of interest. That will save us money to spend on behalf of all Houstonians.
Ms. Garcia.
I'd actually like to go back to something that Senator Whitmire said in his rebuttal, not realizing that this was my last opportunity to do so. You said that you don't want to politicize the issue of the HISD takeover. So I just want to be very clear here. You acknowledge the fact that you did vote for it. And as a result of you having voted for it, what we have now is we've lost our ability to elect our school board. As a parent and as a mother of a child who's needing special education services, I'm not getting them for my daughter. As the parent of a bilingual, emerging bilingual child, I'm not getting bilingual supports for my child. But this was the plan. This was your plan for us. And so the answer is that my experience, you're telling me as a mother, that my experience, I'm politicizing this. These are my kids. These are the kids of hundreds of thousands of Houstonians. People are fleeing the district. You guys want to bring money to Houston? You better get a school district that's in working order because people are going to Spring Branch.
Mr. Kaplan.
I don't think the city is spending money badly. We don't have enough people. We just don't. I've read the budget, the whole budget. I've sat down with 3 separate council members and asked about what we do with the budget. Sally Alcorn sent out memos, and I've read them, on every $20,000 variance within the budget from the previous year. So we really are not misspending the money, but the mayor is the hirer-in-chief. The mayor hires 22 department heads, and many of them are not up to the task. The first thing I would do is interview every department head, not spend a lot of money on audits. We've got a district attorney and a U.S. attorney who can find the fraud in the city or the waste. But what I would do is interview every department head and decide whether they should be retained or replaced. The private sector has plenty of people who are available for those tasks.
Congresswoman Jackson-Lee.
Well, one of the things that you learn by being ethical is that you don't promise people jobs. But I will have a chief financial officer that will be the kind of expert that will have the ability to deal with finance, but alongside of them will be a development officer for us to get every penny from the federal government, such as the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the inflation reduction bill that deals a lot with greening of this community, a lot of resources for small businesses and our renewables, our tech companies, and that particular person will be able to deal with a huge amount of private equity dollars and to be able to use those dollars as a complement to us dealing with more revenue coming into the city, so that we balance those dollars coming in to be able to be used for services. We are creative, we're innovative, we'll look to the future. My goal is to take this city into the future. We're not going to waste time criticizing or dividing or asking about what we raise and what we don't. What we are going to do is find the most creative way to bring revenue and put this city right on top with every other great city in America. This is a great city in the world, and that's what we will continue to be.
Mr. Khan, your turn to answer.
See, Houston, none of them answered the question because why? They have no clue about finances. They don't know how the finances work. I will tell you exactly where the city is losing money. Houston Housing Department is a big sucker of your tax dollars and losing money every day. And I can give you example after example. I told you they're spending $300,000 for a 350 square foot apartment on Caroline Street. Metro is wasting money. Go to Galleria and see the $200 million down the drain train on that bus line which nobody rides. And Metro said that we promised 15,000 people, only 900 people are riding. So there, at your permitting department, that is another. Water department is wasting money. So everywhere there is wastage of money, and that's what I need to work for, and I will work for to make sure that your tax dollar work for you. And yes, audits are needed. Management do it all the time, but people who don't have a clue about management, they don't understand. Private sector does management audit every day to save money.
Well, that completes our final round of questions. Are there any final rebuttals at this time?
I'll be glad to finish my dialogue.
Okay, Mr. Whitmire.
Thank you,
Senator
Ms. Garcia, for caring about HISD. How HISD goes is how the city of Houston will go. The delegation made tough calls. It was working. We had a new superintendent. We had a new school board. They had turned the corner. It's unfortunate that the state did not think it was going fast enough. I protested in April. I've met with the superintendent and expressed my concerns. I did not do a press conference or a press release. That's not my style. But we are making important decisions for our children. It's too important to politicize. It happened, so let's make it work.
Mr. Khan, you have a rebuttal?
Yeah, Senator Whitmire, last time we told you that you are violating the city rules by transferring $9 million to city campaign when you can only transfer only $10,000. We were hoping and expecting that you will show some honor and return that money. You have not returned that money. It's a violation. Now, folks, if he is running his campaign with this kind of play around the rules, just imagine what he will do behind closed doors when nobody is watching. So just think about it before you vote.
Any other rebuttals?
Yes, please.
Ms. Garcia, go ahead.
Well, Senator Whitmire, you don't look at a situation like this and say, we're just going to have to make it work. I have 3 kids. They lost 2 years to COVID. They're not about to lose 5 more years to a dilettante who thinks that he can revamp the entire school system with my children, where there's no proven track record of him having ever done it. Charter schools fail. You cannot ignore this is going against the backdrop of the governor moving to voucherize our entire public school system. If this is okay, are you okay with this? Is this okay with you that we are going to have a for-profit school system?
Mr. Kaplan, I believe you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say that we can't count on the state for anything. We need to be honest about that. We need to just be as self-sufficient as we can and do a good job. That's the best rebuke to the state's inattention to our needs. As for the federal government, that money is going to run out. And if Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee believes she can get more of it, I invite her to do so, and I'd invite her to stay up there and keep doing a good job of it. But the mayor has to do these things. The mayor has to deal with these problems.
Mr. Kaplan, thank you. Well, we now move. Yes, go ahead, Congressman.
I have 2 rebuttals.
Yes, you do. Would you like to use them?
I would.
Okay.
All right. The people of Houston invited me to seek this office, and I believe in Houston. In fact, I love Houston. And it begs the question that you cannot be the mayor of the 4th largest city in the nation and don't continue your national interactions and friendships and collaborations with the heads of cabinets and the President of the United States. And so it is good for me to be here to know how to access the federal government for those funds. It is difficult to speak when people don't know what they're talking about. But what I would say is that with respect to HISD, there was another bite at the apple after the pandemic, when those who say they can walk across the hall to speak to the governor could have, like I did, when I went to the TEA administrator, asked the simple question, put a pause on it for our children. It is a disaster. I'm endorsed by the teachers, supported by the parents, because I help these persons, including HISD. So that is one thing. The question of corruption. I don't just talk about it. I'm going to use my other, am I allowed?
Would you like to use your second rebuttal continuously?
Yes. Well, I don't know. You can go.
I believe that was your second rebuttal.
No. I only use one.
She used 1 minute for the rebuttal, so you decide.
Yeah. She wouldn't.
Go ahead, Congresswoman.
I don't talk about corruption. I will respond to it in my office with an ethics official in my office. But I do ask the question, and reported today, the City of Houston Mayoral Finance Report released that the gentleman, the senator, sold $2.9 million in campaign stocks and put them back into his campaign account. If we're going to have a race that is on issues and is fair, what is the city doing to allow these funds to be used that have not been legitimate to be used in a mayoral campaign? I will further my conversation later. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to closing arguments. You'll have another opportunity to speak again and give your final remarks. Again, the order was selected randomly.
Senator Whitmire, we begin with you. You have 45 seconds.
Thank you, and thank you for the sponsors and certainly the viewers. What you witnessed tonight is some discussion about city issues. That's why we came here tonight. We have serious issues confronting us as Houstonians. We've got to fix our infrastructure. We've got to address crime, make this city as safe as you and I used to know it to be. But what you're witnessing tonight is candidates that have been advised by their political consultants that tonight you have to attack Whitmire. You have to attack Whitmire. I would much rather, and I know I speak for Houstonians, talk about the great city we live in, our great people, but the expectations of City Hall are not being met. Let's come together as a city and make certain that this is a great city.
Congresswoman, your closing remarks.
I said I love this city, and I do. I believe I'm the best qualified candidate that can speak to all levels of government and speak to all neighborhoods. I'll be a neighborhood mayor. The only thing that was said here today that was unique is that we're telling the truth. And if you're going to have a leader that you can trust and that you know who cares, you need to know the truth about the big dealings that go on. There's no doubt that we care about housing and fighting crime. We've talked about that. I'll be an education mayor to make a difference. I'll also be someone who is willing to stand up to a state that wants to overturn our elections, wants to ensure that our city council can't do their job by passing laws. But we will be a neighborhood mayor that cares and fixes problems throughout this city. That is my message for all of you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Ms. Garcia. Please
Public
refrain
education.
from applause. Ms. Garcia, you have 45 seconds to answer.
Public education is the cornerstone of democracy. We are perilously close to bankrupting public education to pay for-profit charter schools for the rich. The next mayor must have the moral clarity and political will to fight for our kids. The next mayor needs to face this threat head-on, and there can be no question as to their democratic and progressive values. John Whitmire has cost from bipartisanship to Stockholm syndrome, too many years working too closely with his captors. If this issue is important to you, you need to vote for me, Mama G, and let's get Greg Abbott the hell out of HISD.
Mr. Khan.
You know, I conducted all my affairs, whether in public life, private life, family life, with ethics, honor, honesty, and that's how I do my business. That's my belief, that's my value, that's my custom, that's my culture. If you honor me with your support, I will manage the city with highest ethical standards and make sure that pay-to-play contractors and special interests are out of your life, because they are the ones who are causing all the problem which you are facing. The mismanagement of city, bloated bureaucracy, inefficient bureaucracy, and special interests sucking your tax dollar, that's what we need to stop. MJ Khan for mayor.
Mr. Kaplan, your closing remarks. You have 45 seconds, Mr. Kaplan.
Yeah, I know what it is to watch a TV debate and try to pick between people I don't really know. Well, in my case, you can take it from the people who have contributed to me. I have more than twice as many individual contributions as all the other people combined. I know them from my time with Scouts. They know me from the law firm, which has been rated as one of the best places to work in the city. They know me from lawyers fighting with me over millions of dollars. And then we ended up as friends because I told the truth. So trust me, take it from them. You'll wake up with me as mayor, and you will be happy to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. And that concludes the live onstage portion of our Houston mayoral debate. We want to thank our candidates and we want to thank you all for watching.
Muchas gracias a ustedes que vieron este debate en español con nuestro equipo de Telemundo Houston.
But there is still more ahead. We have a supplemental section that we want to share with you with candidates who were not on stage tonight. They were all invited to record remarks to try and earn your vote. And you can watch that right now at 8 o'clock on KPRC 2+.
And you can also watch it on Telemundo Houston's digital and OTT platforms. We want to thank the candidates and our audience for joining us, and another big thank you to HCU.
From all of us at KPRC2, Telemundo Houston, Onda Magazine, and the League of Women Voters of Houston, have a great night, and please get out and vote.
And thank you to our moderator.